This episode is brought to you by Paramount Plus. Paramount Plus has movies. So many movies. The movies you've seen 1,000 times and could watch 1,000 more. Iconic movies your friends can't believe you haven't seen. New movies, classic movies, new takes on classic movies. So whether you're into Top Gun or The Naked Gun, Mean Girls or Mission Impossible, Smurfs or Sonic the Hedgehog, there's a mountain of movies to discover on Paramount Plus. Start streaming today.
Welcome back to I Want That Too, the podcast where Disney merch meets Disney history. And I'm entertainment writer Jim Hill, and as always, I'm joined by the lovely Lauren Hersey.
Hey, Jim. We have a lot to cover on today's episode. We are going to be taking a look at Disney's connection to, wood? I mean, we've done a lot of shows on a lot of topics, but wood has not been one of them. Mm-hmm. You know, it might sound simple, but behind every carved sign or weathered marquee, there's a story that most fans have never heard, and we're going to talk about it today.
In particular, we have a guest in the show later today. One that, by the way, you found, so I want you to get credit for this, who had some amazing stories.
Yes, so we're going to be talking to Ray Kinman later in the show, who worked with Disney Imagineering for over 30 years. So can't wait to get into that. But before we do, let's thank our sponsor.
Yes. And our sponsor, of course, here on I Want That Too, our friends at unlockmagic.com. who are the same trusted team behind the DVC rental store and DVC resale market. And if you're planning a Disney trip, they've got the very best deals for Walt Disney World tickets, including the lowest prices for the parties this time of year. Mickey's Very Merry and even Jollywood Nights over at the studios. So visit unlockmagic.com to grab the best ticket deals and make your next Disney trip just a little more magical. So, all right. So we're starting with wood-related news, really. Okay.
We're only doing wood-related news on today's show because it's great. So, Jim, we've done all types of deep dives. We did a show over the summer on just cups. We talk about weird hats. We talked about all the Labubu's. So why should wood be any exception, right? But honestly, there were a few wood-related items out there that I found and that are so beautiful that I just think we should talk about them. So let's start with something that is brand new for 2025 and perhaps a perfect holiday gift for any Disney fan who, loves wood or the handcrafted touch, I guess.
Okay, and what Lauren is referring to is the Arribas Brothers, who I'm sure most Disney fans think of for their glass blowing. But in this case, they have for 2025, they have a wood collection, right? And first up is the Walt Disney World 2025 photo album by Arribas, which personalized price point at $115, right?
Yes, and so this is the Mac Daddy of photo albums, and when I looked at it, I was like, this is such a beautiful holiday gift. It holds 128 photos, and I mean, most people now just have a bunch of photos on their phone, so to be able to print out all your photos from your trip, I think would be amazing. So the front of this is carved with Cinderella's castle, Mickey, Minnie, Snow White, Pinocchio, Stitch, all the friends, you know them, and it etched into the grain. And then you can also personalize this. But I mean, you got to be pretty bougie to, spend $115 on a photo album. Jim, is there any options for maybe people that don't want to spend $115 on a photo album?
Well, there is a slightly smaller photo album, again with the wooden cover that's personalizable. That starts at $79, and as opposed to the bigger one, it will hold 64 photos as opposed to 128 photos. But this one, the other one you referred to, 9-inch. This is the 27-inch. But at the same time, you have this lovely crafted thing that, allows you, to make your family trip to Walt Disney World all the more special, right?
Right. And so I didn't mention, but these are on the Disney store. So if you want to look at them for yourself, you could do that. And then there are actually two matching frames that round it out. So there's a 4x6 frame for $55 and an 8x10 for $79. Both are personalized and carved with the same warm finish wood. So I thought those could be really cool keepsakes for the holidays.
Yeah, and more to the point, these sort of look like the kind of things you would have found at a resort boutique back in the 70s. So, and it is kind of cool that Disney's leaning into natural materials, which again, feels handcrafted as opposed to the official merch. And speaking of which, official merch.
Yes. All right. So our second wood-related story. I'm sorry. I just think it's so funny. So today it shrinks that same craftsmanship into something that you can wear. So also this year, Disney released a set of wood-inlay pins, open edition trading pins that mix metal, enamel, and real wood inlay. It's pretty cool, right?
Yeah. So talk to me. What's special about this set?
Okay, so this one has 4. You have Mickey, Minnie, Chip and Dale, and Goofy, and right now they're priced about $14.99. They're normal size, like 1 3/4 inches, but the background is wood grain, which is really cool and clever.
It's a clever nod to that hand carved look that you see with Adventureland or Frontierland signage, but pin form. And okay, so, and because these aren't limited edition this time, collectors can actually find them without fighting crowds or bots, right?
Yeah. I mean, so as far as right now, so the pins came out in January of this year. And if you're looking for something maybe different, these are a solid option and at $15. And I think that they're going to be $15 for now. But I bet you because these are so special, I actually never considered buying Miles any wood pins. But because they are so special and they stand out in a trading book or in a pin display, I bet you that eventually these end up being more than $15.
I don't think you're wrong here, but again, at this price point, if you're a pin collector, this is a smart one to go after now, before, they disappear into the secondary market and there goes your child's college fund. Now, speaking of wood, which makes me think of trees, which makes me think of Christmas trees, Lauren, again, this being the I Want That Too podcast, where every week, like it or not, we bring up popcorn buckets. Have you seen the popcorn bucket that they're going to be selling at Mickey's Very Merry this year?
No. Enlighten me.
Okay. Well, now I first have to explain that my sister-in-law, Kathy Moore, worships at the Church of the Red Christmas Truck. You've seen the Red Christmas Truck, right? They with the Christmas tree in the back, right?
Yes.
All right. My sister-in-law has this in every possible form. Signs. We actually, a couple of Christmases ago, bought her one that it's about, 2 feet long and 1.5 feet tall, and it's the decoration on her table out on her patio. Well, they just announced for Mickey's Very Merry this year, the popcorn bucket that will be sold at the party is the Mickey Christmas truck with the tree in the back.
What? I was going to ask if it was made of wood.
Well, no, it's made of plastic, but I'm sure at some point in the fabrication, process, a tree was involved somehow. Now, I bring this up because the first of the Very Merries happens this week on the 7th. In fact, isn't that the day our show goes live? Or is it the day after?
No, the 6th. Day before.
Okay. Okay, day before. All right. So I am putting in a personal request, folks, that if you are going to Mickey's Very Merry this year, because I don't know, especially I'm going down to Disney World with Len and Mr. Schul later this month, but it's a working trip. We're recording new shows around the park and all that, and I don't think I'm going to make it to Mickey's Very Merry, and I'd love to be able to give one of these to my sister-in-law. So if some kind soul out there wants to, I guess you're allowed to buy two at the event, and if you want to buy two and maybe send it to live in New England, home of Christmas trees, it snows here.
Nate, we're looking at you, man.
Okay, there we go. I'm just saying, and happy to reimburse you for the cost of the bucket and mail and all that, but just making a personal request here. But all right, Jeff.
So I appreciate the call to action there, and it technically is wood because there is a tree in the back of the truck.
That's right. There's a tree in the back of the truck. So
yes, but we are talking about real, from the ground grown trees and woods with our guests coming up. So with today's show, we're going to have Ray Kinman, who is a master wood carver. His handiwork is all over Disney parks, and he is promising behind the scenes stories. He's done things like the Indiana Jones Adventure Output sign, Hungry Bear Restaurant, Winnie the Pooh entrance carvings, marquees. He's worked closely with Imagineering for decades, and I mean, his craft literally frames the guest experience because it is the very first thing that you see.
Oh, absolutely. And again, Lauren was nice enough to reach out to Ray, and he was kind enough to come on the show. And after this break, you're going to hear our interview with him where he takes us through his whole Disney journey, how he came to work for the mouse and what went into some of the more famous signs that he worked on in the park. And seriously, what goes into taking, well, in his case, giant pieces of mahogany and then turning them into theme park magic. But before we get to that, there's this.
REI Co-op presents a perfect outdoor moment with the perfect gift. Picture this. You're ripping with your favorite person. Bluebird skies, blower powder, and frankly, you're skiing like legends.
So sick. Another lap?
Thanks to REI's curation, from lid to sticks, you nailed the gift.
No way. How'd you know?
Does it get more perfect than that? Give without guessing. Shop in store or visit rei.com.
This podcast is brought to you by Carvana. Carvana lets you buy your next car on your terms. Explore a massive inventory online, filter for what matters, and find your perfect match. Then choose delivery to your home or pick it up at one of Carvana's iconic car vending machines. Every car also comes with a 7-day money-back guarantee, so you can make sure it's the right fit. Buy your car on Carvana. Delivery or pickup fees may apply. Limitations and exclusions may apply. See our 7-day return policy at Carvana.com.
Carvana. Hey there, it's Dr. Sanjay Gupta with some exciting news to share. CNN is now streaming. That means you can read, watch, and stream everything in one subscription. You can watch news live 24/7. You can also explore catch-up videos and explainer videos, and you can also watch a library of CNN's originals, including my latest documentary, It Doesn't Have to Hurt. Just go to cnn.com/all-access.
And we're back. Joining us today is someone whose work you probably walk past at Disneyland or Walt Disney World, even pose for a family photo in front of without realizing it.
Yes, and Ray Kinman is a master wood carver who's bringing Disney stories to life for more than 3 decades. His hand-carved signs and sculptures have greeted guests at some of the most beloved attractions, from Adventureland to Critter Country and beyond.
And Ray, welcome to I Want That Too. It's so great to have you here. And as I was telling Lauren as we were getting started doing tonight's interview, my dad for years did wood carving. In fact, worked with a hammer, worked with an awl. And so when Lauren shared your PBS segment, it was Old Home Week. I so often, in fact, I love how you talked about your studio being the garage, because that's where my dad worked too.
You saw that, PBS. Oh, yeah, I have to warn you, when an artist says my studio, that's just artist speak for garage. Right? I've been working in my garage for almost 50 years. Yeah. Still do.
Well, that's incredible. Okay, so let's start at the way beginning. So for anybody that has not met you, how do you describe what you do? Like, what is, being a wood carver actually mean? And we're talking about, like, this is a Disney show, so we're talking about what you did, or your contributions to the theme parks. So let's start there.
Okay, first let's do a correction, because in Imagineering speak, these aren't signs; they are marquees.
Oh,
yes.
So every attraction that you go to at Walt Disney World or Disney or any of their theme parks is actually a show. It's theater, and so when you go to the theater, what do you see at the outside? It's a marquee on the theater. So these are marquees.
So would you be a marquee carver?
In that context, you could think of it that way. I mean, it's kind of important to use the language, because it keeps you centered on what you're doing. Like every attraction, when you go to Indiana Jones, it is scripted like a film. It has a soundtrack, has a storyline, a story arc, and so everything is designed as theater. So by using the word marquee, like I don't use that personally, but when we're doing our brainstorming stuff and working on so we do use that language.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have to say, though, that the stuff you do for Disney, and given, Disney's insistence on things being on model, I mean, some of your work is just stunning. The, for example, that wonderful sign you did for Carl and Ellie from Up. I mean, that looks like it's a frame out of that Pixar movie.
Well, thank you. That's the idea. It's funny you'd say that, Jim, because, it is that. But in some ways, I'm a traditional woodcarver. I do this with hand tools, and my entire career has been kind of one big pushback against automation. And most things are done digitally now, even in the theme park world, 3D printed and all of that stuff. So I'm kind of a specialist. So I get called in on those particular things where they want the human touch, where it was like my original art director back when I first started. He was a stickler for handwork at that time. This was before 3D printing and all this stuff. But his theory was, if you tell a robot or a computer to cut a straight line, that's one very straight line. But if you ask a human being to do that, it's going to be a little wonky. And his idea was, he thinks that the human brain reads that wonkiness as pleasurable. And so, it's got to be spot on, but it's a little wiggly too. And that's part of the thing. So the really special ones where they want that wiggliness is where I kind of come in.
Well, isn't that like the whole human experience, though? We're all kind of a little wiggly. It'd be a really boring world if we were all just perfect straight lines, right?
Point, yeah. Some are more wiggly than others, right?
Right. Okay. So, but let's go back into the theme parks, because something we were alluding to is that people could have walked by your work, hundreds of times without even noticing it. So can you talk about some of your projects that people may have seen and not realize that was actually you?
I can. That's a really good point, Lauren, because I've been in this a long time, but back when I started, I had no idea that was the case. I mean, to me, it was just, I've got some work, yay! It was interesting work, the money was good, and so it was more about I was working, meeting deadlines, solving problems, and it never occurred to me what that impact would be, that hundreds of millions of people these things are often the first thing they see at their favorite attraction, and so they, in many ways, it's part of their most cherished childhood memories. And that never occurred to me until later when that started showing up. So, yeah, man, that's a long list. I mean, Splash Mountain, Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, Indiana Jones Adventure, Critter Country, Country Bear Jamboree, Fantasyland Theater. It goes on and on. I've done quite a.
Did you make the giant Big Al statue that? I mean, I feel like it was semi-recent.
Some things I can neither confirm nor deny.
Okay.
I don't know if I answered that well, but
yes, but it's fantastic if you had anything to do with it.
It's a beautiful piece of wood, and it's all handmade, and it was carved from Western red cedar, so that was a tree at one time, and yeah, maybe.
Just maybe. All right. So going back to the very beginning of you as a person. So I think from my super sleuthery of Googling that you were actually a musician before you were doing wood carving. So what made you trade the guitar strings for like carving tools?
Yeah. That's a pretty good story, actually. I'm still a working musician, but, this goes back to 1976, 77. When I was young, I was 19, 20 years old, living at Lake Tahoe, on the California side. And I was earning a living as a musician, playing in smoky casinos and nightclubs for a living, which was great at the time, right? But then, as life does, it threw me a little sideways glance there, and my girlfriend comes to me and says, "Honey, we're going to have a baby," right? Which is, after I finished choking on that, I started thinking, I'm self-taught. I have no formal training or education of any kind. And so, it was kind of like, okay, being a musician is great, but it's not going to cut it for family, not financial. So I was kind of looking. For something to do.
And is this where your friend's business came in?
Right. Marty's a friend of mine, and he was going to be opening a restaurant called The Loft Restaurant in Kings Beach, California. And at that time, there was a man living in North Lake Tahoe. His name was Ron Ramsey, who's a really good woodcarver. And his work was all over. You just couldn't miss it. It was just beautiful carvings, like signs for restaurants and stuff like that. And I always admired them. I had never considered doing that. But so Marty was talking about opening his restaurant, and I asked him who was going to carve your sign. And I was going to suggest Ron Ramsey. And, Marty he's kind of cheap, right? He's going, I don't, Ron will probably charge me a fortune. And then he stopped and he looked at me and he says, why? Are you a wood carver? And remember, I'm looking, right? So it's like dead silence, and my brain's going about 1,000 miles a minute. I'm going, okay, what do I say? How do I move? So I just blurted out, it was a fib. I told a fib. And I said, yeah, I'm a wood carver. And, I don't really think of it as lying. I think of it as the truth in advance, right? A wood carver.
So, but at that point, have you ever carved anything before?
No. I had no woodworking experience. Okay. I had no tools. I had no money, no place to work, not the tiniest clue of what to do. But I told him I could. So that's how I got my start. And it was exactly like you think. I mean, my entire career, because I don't have any training or education in this, has been kind of a process of making mistakes. You try something, you make a mistake, try to figure out what worked, what didn't work, tweak it, and then do it again. And so that first project was every mistake. I never done any woodwork, nothing. And so I made every mistake. It came out pretty bad. I don't have any pictures of it.
I was going to say, like, your website said you have a zillion pictures, but, like, that one's not on it?
I've got some of those old pictures. Some of my early work is still up there at like Tahoe. So, how do you move forward from that? And so there's little pieces here and there. I was living at Lake Tahoe, so that's a resort area, and people would make these little carved signs on the front of their cabin. So you kind of started doing that. And then I'd pick up a little job here and there. It was a struggle. It was really hard.
Well, what's kind of intriguing about your story, though, is clear out of the blue, one day you get that call from, somebody in Imagineering who had seen your work in I got a restaurant, I guess, in the Tahoe area, and immediately, it's like, I want to talk to this guy. I mean, so what was it like to get that call?
Yeah, there's a little story there too. This is just funny. So after a number of years living at Tahoe, it's a resort area. The economy is very, very, the weather, whether it snows or not, it's tough. It's seasonal. And so we decided to move our young family down to Southern California and start my business there, where we could have some stability and, a bigger market and that kind of stuff. So we kind of did that. Now, I grew up in Southern California in a town called San Pedro. And to me, being a snarky kid when I lived there, Disneyland to me was just that place you go stand in line. I paid no attention to it, right? And that's kind of how I thought of it, right? But our kids were little, and as young parents do, you take them to Disneyland for an adventure, right? So we did that, but this time I had some experience under my belt. I had reached a certain level of competency by that point. And so when we went in there, I'm looking around going, wait a minute. These people, whoever's doing this is really, really good, right? It looked different to me. And my kids were all lit up, and I kind of got it. And I'm thinking to myself, Jim is like, I'm looking around going, I think I can do this stuff. I think I'm probably good enough now. So I thought, I'm going to look into it. And I knew nothing about it, right? So I did a little detective work. I found out about Walt Disney Imagineering. If you don't know what that is, that's the think tank. That's where they dream all this stuff up. And I found out about it. I didn't know anybody there. So, and this is before email. I thought, well, I'll do this the way I do anything else. And I put together a little portfolio of my photographs and a cover letter. And I mailed it off to Imagineering, and I didn't know about it. So I just put attention graphic design department. Right. And I thought, I got this now. Just wait for the phone to ring, right? It didn't ring, right? I thought, okay. I know this one. Do it again, right? Do it again. Nothing. Okay, keep doing it. And nothing. And I did that for a couple of years. I never got a reply. And I kind of got to the point where I went, okay, am I going to keep doing this? Is not working. I'm doing something wrong. So I quit. I just kind of gave up. And boy, I learned a lot from that one, because it wasn't long after that I did get that phone call. And it was from the senior graphic designer at Imagineering, and he had gone out for lunch one day at a restaurant he had never been to, where I'd done some work, saw it there, and got my number from the manager and called me. So it had nothing to do with all that stuff. It was a lucky break.
Okay. And speaking of breaks, we need to take a brief ad break here, but when we get back, we're going to talk at length about what Ray has done for the Disney parks. But first, this.
Running a business comes with a lot of what-ifs, but luckily there's a simple answer to them. Shopify. It's the commerce platform behind millions of businesses, including Thrive Cosmetics and Momofuku, and it'll help you with everything you need. From website design and marketing to boosting sales and expanding operations, Shopify can get the job done and make your dream a reality. Turn those what-ifs into... Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/special offer.
And we're back.
All right, Ray. So let's go back to the marquee. We are now talking signs. So why don't you just pick one marquee specifically and just tell, maybe it's even your first one. How did the project begin? Like, what happened then?
Okay, well, let's go with the first one because, it's probably a good example. So when Chris, the senior graphic designer, first called me, he said, could you send some photos of your work? Because he hadn't seen any, right? And I said, yes. So I did that. And then he got back to me a couple weeks later. He said, we'd like to see more. Can you come down and meet the Imagineers? Bring your portfolio or anything you have. And I, gulp, I'm self-taught, right? I'm going to hope nobody asks me where I went to school, right? And I said, sure, I'll do this. So I went in and they led down this like a labyrinth. If you've never been to Imagineering before, it's a great place. It's just all kinds of really great stuff there in process and ideas and storyboards. And so this labyrinth, and we went back to like a meeting room, like with a large boardroom meeting room. And there's 10 or 12 Imagineers around the table. I'm coming out, I'm just this squirrely little kid, and so we sat down and I brought some pieces and I brought some photographs. We passed all that around. They asked questions. And then they started kind of interviewing me. Right? And they were asking some very pointed questions. It was like, I was getting grilled. Because, working with artists, they can go off the rails, anyway. I guess I did okay. And so at one point, the senior art director, he says, okay, we got something we want you to take a look at. And I'm thinking, great. Maybe they'll give me a little open and close sign, try me out, right? Some little thing. And he plops down this roll of blueprints on the table and opens and rolls it open and open flat. And I look at it and I went, gulp. It was the Indiana Jones adventure. I mean, it was right at the
okay.
And I'm going, okay. And so we started working. Design snags, throwing ideas out, brainstorming, what do you think of the, and I guess I did okay. But at one point, I kind of just stopped. I said, look, you guys, I really want this job. And it was like dead silence. And in my mind, I'm thinking, Raymond, you moron, that was a stupid thing to say. And then David, the art director, kind of looked up at me and he smiled and he goes, yeah, we can tell. And I nodded his head and I got the job. So, yeah, that was my first one.
If don't mind me asking, I mean, that's a piece of size, right? I mean, how big is the marquee for Indy? I mean, I've walked under it dozens of times at this point, but never flashed on how big a piece are we talking here?
Depends on which one. That first one was 8 feet long by 4 feet tall, and it was about 4 inches thick out of mahogany.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay. Can you talk about how much time that took?
I can. I should preface it with I have a non-linear relationship with time.
Okay.
Yeah, it takes what it takes, and you just work on it until I'm happy. And I found that if I'm tracking my hours, I am not. I'm not thinking about doing my best work. So I don't really pay attention to it, but there's a lot of hours in that. Yeah. A lot. It's all done by hand. So it's like one little slice at a time.
Wow.
So what tools did you use? Was it really just those like 2 tools that you showed in that PBS special?
That's what I started with. Yeah. Well, I mean, I've got a million tools now, but those 2 tools. All right, behind me right here. when I got that first sign for Marty, right, the law restaurant, I mean, I had no tools, so I had to borrow $30 from my dad to buy 2 tools. I'm not sure I ever paid him back, but I still use those tools today. But yeah, they're tools.
Wow, there we go.
They're sharp.
As they should be.
Yeah.
All right. So, okay, after Indy, and again, that was a really big deal when that attraction opened at Disneyland in, I want to say, 94? What did you wind up doing next for the company?
What was the next one? Oh, Pooh Corner. I did 2 Pooh Corners. I did one for Walt Disney World and one for Disneyland. I didn't always know where these things were going at the time. You know, really working hard. So Pooh Corners, both of them are still there in Disneyland today. They take meticulous care of these things. I mean, that was a long time ago. They still look brand new. They're beautiful. Yeah. So that was the next one.
But in a situation like that, where the Pooh Corner thing, it's not a question of, like, for example, that wonderful Big Fat Bear that you did for Hungry Bear. This is multiple characters in different poses, and getting all of the likenesses. That's got to have been tough.
It's hard work. It's difficult work. Yeah, And so this is interpretation. Like Mickey Mouse is that's their flagship. Like very few artists get to asked to do Mickey Mouse, and you have to go through this rigorous training, Mickey training. Right? So I never went through that training, but some of it's interpretation. But some of, like I did the original Big Al years ago for the Country Bear Playhouse thing, and yeah, so it's changed a little bit. You kind of like the nuts and bolts stuff, right, Jim? So, back then, you could just get a drawing on a piece of paper, and they provide turnarounds. That's like, so you can see it from the front, both sides, and the back. And so mechanically, I'd look at it and like lay a grid over the artwork. So it's like, I can see where the cuts need to go and kind of get it roughed out that way. But a lot of it is understanding the character, right? Who Big Al is. What's the storyline of this show? What are we trying to, what is the spirit of Big Al, right? So, yeah, it's interpretation and wiggle room. And, working with Imagineers is, when you're working at that level, at like, your level or above, no matter what you're doing, it's really easy. It's just easy. They get it, right? So it's when you're working with an art director who gets it, it just becomes easy. You're both right on the same page, and it's not difficult. It's working with people who are not quite at that level that gets difficult.
So when we were talking before we hopped on, you said you've got a load of stories. So I wanted to do something a little bit fun and do a park story lightning round with you, which means I'm just going to ask you quick questions. So no overthinking, and just respond with the first thing that comes to mind. How's that sound?
I'm in.
All right, cool. Let's do this. All right. Number 1, your favorite Disney project you ever worked on?
Country Bear Playhouse marquee. This was at Disneyland, where the Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh is now. The previous incarnation of that attraction was the Country Bear Playhouse, which was the Country Bears, right?
Yes.
So, yeah, that one.
What did you like about it?
That's probably the hardest thing I've ever done.
You like the challenge.
I was working on another project, on a Pocahontas project, and I had a power tool accident, and I lost one of my fingers.
No, you didn't.
I didn't. You're right. So I had to have surgery, and my arm was in a cast, but then the Country Bear Playhouse was, I had to make that deadline. That becomes very important. So I couldn't couldn't do it. It was I had one hand. So I got a couple of friends of mine, and we came together and worked as a team, and they got it roughed out for me. And then, but I did the rest of that carving with one hand. And
that is incredible.
I don't even know if I could do that today, Lauren. Honestly. Yeah.
I mean, was it just that you were up against it and you were going to do whatever it takes, and you had youth on your side?
Yeah, I needed the money too.
That'll do it. Yeah. All right. So that was obviously stressful, but do you have what was your most stressful deadline that you had to hit?
Oh, that was the one for sure. There's a lot out there. There's wiggle room with deadlines, like with anything, especially when it comes to art. They understand. The artist needs the time they need. At the same time, it's deadline after deadline. One of my favorite quotes, Lauren, there's a book called Douglas Adams, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, right?
And okay, yes.
One of his quotes is, "I love deadlines. I like the whooshing sound they make as they pass."
Yes.
All right. So, what is an attraction you wish you could have carved something for?
Tarzan's treehouse. I could have done that one. Didn't get it.
Treehouse wood. That totally makes sense.
Which eventually became Adventureland Treehouse, which I did do that one.
Okay. Last one. What's a piece that you'd redo if you had the chance?
Adventureland Treehouse.
Okay, Ray, as we bring this to a close here, again, you've been doing this for as many decades as you have, but what I love is you have decided to pass on the gift. You're now doing your private weekend retreats to help beginners who are trying to step into the space. Is that still going on?
Hippie camp. We call it hippie camp. Yeah, it's we live in Northern California, my wife and I, and out in the forest in Grass Valley, California, which is kind of burned out tie-dye hippie capital of the world, kind of the 60s, a bunch of aging boomers. And so we've been, I've always wanted to teach, because I'm self-taught, I have a very clear understanding of where a beginner is and what a mystery it is. And so I understand the process. And I always wanted to teach. So my wife and I said, well, let's do one of these retreats. That was my idea. Let's put it on the calendar. And we had no idea if anybody would show up. And it sold out. Oh my God. And I thought, well, let's try another couple. And boom, boom, they sold out. And it just really took off. So, that's kind of a big thing now. People are coming from all over the world, mostly Disnerds, right? Mm-hmm. And these are absolute beginners. They're not artists. They're not woodworkers. They're got butterflies in their tummy. They're going, I've never done anything like this. And I'm going to be the only one who can't. And you should see what they're doing, Jim. It's amazing. It's amazing. So, that's gone really well. We've had almost 700 beginners come through here.
That is so cool.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Would you like to come, Jim?
Well, this is the thing. My dad had the gift, and I have a garage full of tools that, when we lost him in 2020, I've been eyeballing. So let me think on that.
Really?
More to the point, as I was mentioning to Lauren before we get started here today, that just down the street from my parents' house in the same neighborhood, there was a gentleman whose profession, he built display cases for museums, and so he and my dad sort of fell in together, and That's why we have an attic full of like African ironwood and rosewood and, all these beautiful pieces of wood that my dad was going to do something with. So, I was mentioning to Lauren, at the very least, I should ask Ray if he's got any carvers on the East Coast who, want some quality stuff to work with, because I know a place to get it.
Yeah, babe, I'm well connected there. In wood carving, woodworking circles, I'm very well known. So, yeah, man, we can do that. But first, I want to come look at it myself and take the best stuff.
Oh, please. We'll send you up the stairs. But anyway, Ray, again, on behalf of Lauren, again, just wanted to thank you for making the time and more to the point, for creating all of these wonderful pieces that for decades now people have enjoyed when they visited the Disney parks.
Thank you so much for the kind compliment, Jim. I appreciate this conversation too, and what you guys do is so it's wonderful too, because you're kind of giving people a little look behind the scenes, and that's amazing.
Lauren sent me a note to the effect of, I should ask you where the nice people can find you, Ray, if they're looking to get more information.
Well, yeah, social media, Facebook is a big one. Raymond Kinman, my name, also Raymond Kinman, Legacy Disney Artist. You can find me there on Instagram. Website, that's a good one. If you want, you can go direct to me there. That's woodcarverguru.com. That started as a joke. Okay, we made this woodcarver guru thing up, and it just stuck.
I know. I totally get that. 25 years ago, just to amuse myself, I want to say my handle on social media, I just figured I'll put pompous jerk, not realizing that, that would then follow me for 25 years. Yeah. So it's like, you got to be really careful with the gag names. All right.
We learn as we go, don't we, Jim?
There we go. Well, thanks again, Ray, for making the time today. Just so enjoyed having you on this week's I Want That Too.
That was a tremendous interview. Thank you so much, Ray. But on that note, Jim, I think it's time we close up shop for today.
Well, at the very least, sweep up the sawdust. Okay, anyway, by the way, if you want to keep up on everything happening across the Jim Hill Media Podcast Network, please follow us on social, and don't forget to check out our Patreon for bonus shows and early access.
Yes, and if you have questions or ideas for a future episode, reach out to Jim at jimhillmedia.com, and I'm at Lauren at laurenhersey.com.
Oh, and if you like the show, please leave us a quick rating or review. It helps other Disney fans find I Want That Too.
Absolutely. Well, that does it for today's show. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on I Want That Too.